Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session, Demystifying MDR, Cyber-Defined XDR, MDR, EDR, all the buzzwords and acronyms that you hear in today's cybersecurity world. My name is Ryan Carter. I'm with NetShark's Technology Advisors. We are a partner with eCentire, who is a leader in the cybersecurity space, specifically managed detection and response. And I have a very special guest here with me today, John Moretti, who is the Principal Solutions Architect with eCentire. He has joined us today to offer his wealth of intelligence and experience in the cybersecurity space to help us demystify these terms. So, John, welcome so much to the webinar, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Ryan. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me today.
You bet.
So let's get through these slides here. Okay, so we're going to go over today cybersecurity risk, the big data problem. Really, cybersecurity today is a data problem. There's so many different tools that produce so many different data points. It's hard to keep a track of all the data. We're going to define the marketplace, MDR, XDR, EDR, NDR. What do all those acronyms mean? And then we're going to talk about our approach to security and MDR at eCentire. So again, I'm your host, John Moretti. I'm here with Ryan Carter. Thank you again, Ryan, for having me. It's really it's an honor to be here. Thank you again. All right. So, like I mentioned before, cybersecurity is a massive data problem. You know, you need not only the right solution, but you need the team to manage all that data. And I have to tell you, I've been doing this for a long time. And what I found out early in my career is that I am not a SOC analyst. I cannot do what they do. Our SOC analysts, our teams, what they do is they gather the data from all those different technologies and they make sense of it all. A lot of the teams that we come across today, some IT teams, they really do just manage the tools because that's the time of the day that they have. They can't really analyze all that data to really turn it into something they can really understand and then prevent a cyber attack. And that's what we like to do at eCentire is really help customers not only anticipate, but withstand a cyber attack and then really recover as quickly as possible. I'm going to show you that in a few slides. But, you know, you need to really see these attacks and see the needle in the haystack and contain them in minutes, not hours, not days. See those threat actors as quickly as possible and get them out of your organization. So some of the challenges that you are facing today: lack of visibility. I mean, think about your home. You have doors and windows. You can have a first floor, second floor, basement windows, all those different points. You'd like to have alarms on every one of those windows. So having lack of visibility means you could have a hole somewhere. Limited response time. There's so many different alerts coming out of it. And that actually ties into alert overload. So many different alerts. How do you make sense of all those alerts? And then responding as quickly as possible. Do you have the team that can respond as quickly as they can to a cyber attack when it is happening and stop it? And then that also goes over to security expertise gaps. A lot of the times today, like I mentioned, I'm not a SOC analyst. I can't do what they do. I have been with our SOC analysts and our teams, and they can actually see when something's about to happen. They can follow the breadcrumbs, and they can see how it's going to happen. It's unbelievable, and having that expertise is critical. And then it's not really that the technology is built for the Fortune 500 today, but a lot of the organizations, maybe those enterprise organizations, they have a SOC. They have a team to manage it all. So that's where, you know, a lot of those challenges that you're facing today, this is where we can help. Now, if we look at the marketplace today, there's a lot of terms out there. Like I mentioned before, SIM, EDR, MDR. What do they all mean? Well, you have our friend, the good old friend, the SIM. That's been around for a long time. And really what that is that's a log collection, collecting logs from different devices in your environment, and then correlating those logs, timestamping it. But then someone has to look at those logs. Someone has to go through those logs and understand what they're looking at and see if there's a threat there. So a SIM is good. I mean, logs are great. Logs are great to have to find out, give you a little bit more context of what you're reading, but they're not real time. A log is written after something already happens. So you want to make sure they're still great, but that's the old SIM. SIM is a great place to store those logs and correlate them, but Again, someone's got to look at them. Then you have EDR, ED little r. ED little r, what does that mean? Endpoint detection and response. That means an endpoint tool only looking at endpoint data, looking at nothing else. Then you have MD little r, and you might see some organizations that say, hey, we do MDR. And it's that R, that little r, that they're referring to. They don't do the response. They might send an alert to a customer. They might just look at different points, but not really do the response. And that's where we come in. We come in with the MD and the capital R. We have full spectrum visibility in the customer's environment, and that's where we can do that response piece. That's what makes us different, is responding as the team, as your team, to cyber attacks, cyber threats as they're happening in the organization. So as you partner with Eastentire and you become a customer of ours, you're hiring and onboarding all of our SOC analysts that work 24/7, 365 for you. Now, I love this slide because this really is a slide that talks about the critical criteria for MDR. And I recommend everybody out there, as you're looking at MDR providers, ask these questions. First one, do you alleviate the complexity in the environment? So are you just providing a tool, or are you managing that tool? Are you grooming that tool? Are you making that tool work for me? And then if you are, what could you see? That visibility, like I talked about before, it's critical. Can you see every point? Can you see all those doors and windows and locks? Can you see that full spectrum visibility? And then if you do, what can you detect? Can you actually see that needle in the haystack? Can you see it? And if you can you make sense of it? And then can you get that threat actor with that response out of your environment as quickly as possible, containing, supporting as quickly as possible, stopping that business disrupting event? How fast can you do that? So ask those questions. Ask them, Mr. MDR provider, how are you going to do this for me? Alleviate that complexity. What are you going to be able to see? If you can see everything, how do you detect it? Can you see that needle in the haystack? Getting that threat actor out of the environment is critical. Minutes count. A little bit about us. So we've been around since 2001. We have two security operations centers, one in Waterloo, the other one in Cork, Ireland, Waterloo, Canada. And we do not follow the sun. So we have our 160 SOC analysts that sit between those two SOCs working 24/7, 365 for all of our customers. We also have a forensic lab in Virginia. We have multiple offices throughout the world. We have over 2,000 customers in over 80 countries and 630 or more employees as well. The big thing on this slide, and I always love to talk about, we have great awards. I get questions all the time, are what verticals are you guys in? Is there a vertical that you can't be in? I have to tell you, everybody needs security today. There's not one organization that can say, yep, we're good. We don't need anything. Everybody needs security. Everyone needs it. We're going to go a little bit about some of these different components. I'm going to talk about our XDR platform, which is how we deliver our MDR service, and I'll dive into that for you. I talked about our SOC 24/7, 365. We're going to talk about our cyber resilience team. And what does that mean? I'm going to talk about how we do that deep investigation. But the big thing on this slide, which I love to point out, is our rapid time to value. 15-minute mean time to contain. Now, what does that mean? That means we can stop a threat and a business from having a business disrupting event within that 15-minute mean time to contain. So we can stop that threat and contain it. Now, doesn't mean that we haven't done a deep dive investigation yet to find out the root cause. We still need to do that, but we can stop an organization from having a business disrupting event because our SOC is looking at your environment in real time as part of your team. So we're going to dive into that as well and see how we do that. So I talked about cyber resilience, anticipating when something's going to happen, withstanding that. When it happens, you want to make sure that it's contained to for example, one endpoint or one or two endpoints, and then recovering as quickly as possible. We want to help our customers become cyber resilient and then really to adapt and evolve as cybersecurity is changing today. The landscape changes every single day. We are seeing new threats all the time using AI and machine learning. You hear about all those new things in the news as well. We want to make customers and help them evolve and be ready for those things when they do happen. So we have some buckets that we've built. So we're going to talk about our middle, in the middle there, our MDR, but let's talk about some of the other things that customers can also get. So anticipating. So we at Easton Tire never going into an organization and rip and replace anything. We always want to complement what the customer has, understand their risks, understand their environment, and then help build their security posture and make it stronger. So we have some services around that. So the big one is the virtual CISO services, having a CISO really understand your environment, helping you with policies and procedures that you need to write, maybe testing an IR plan. We have penetration testing, red team, blue team, purple team exercises. We also have a phishing and awareness security training offering that we offer customers as well. And we also have our managed vulnerability service, which really is kind of part of our MDR service, but we have our vulnerability service where we scan for vulnerabilities, external weekly, internal monthly. We have a team. This is all they do. They look for vulnerabilities in the customer's environments and they make sure and help them to build a patch schedule so they can patch that environment as quickly as possible. Now, on the other side of MDR there, you see Recover, which is our new incident response retainer and plan that we have for customers. We like to be proactive here. So we do offer a retainer. Now, we never did in the past, but it's a new offering, which is great. We had customers ask us for this. Now we see a lot of customers asking for cyber insurance. So they need some of these new things, not just MDR, but they need an IR retainer. So with the IR retainer, we like to be proactive, like I mentioned, and we have the ability now to offer this retainer and have what we call our agent, our incident response agent, already pre-installed in the customer's environment. So when they do hit that big red button, said, hey, I need help, you know what? We don't have to go through the process of doing a discovery and finding out what's going on, or, hey, Mr. Customer, you need to fill out all this paperwork and we need to get all this stuff done before we can even come in there. We're already going to be in the environment. We're going to know. That's why we offer a 4-hour threat suppression. We're the only organization out there that I know of that offers that. Now, what's also very cool with our retainer is that we don't just offer retainer and it's you use it or lose it. We give you something with it. So there's also some services that we offer. Tabletop exercises, cyber war games, IR planning and creation. Or if the customer has one already, let's put it to the test. Let's see if it's going to work and then make modifications there and help the customer do that. So it's not like you just use it or lose it. We're going to give you something with that retainer as well. And that is our 24/7 incident response retainer. It's a new service we just started. It's about a year old already, and we have a lot of great feedback, and we have a lot of customers using it. So what makes Easton Tire different? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it's a few things. One is our platform. And then the second thing is going to be the people that I'm going to talk about that make this platform work. We spent over $45 million in this platform. This platform, what we do is we ingest the signals coming from your environment. So everything from network, endpoint, log, cloud, identity, vulnerability. We take all that raw data, like I showed before, talked about before. Every one of these signals, there's different tools, and they all have different points of data. So it becomes a data problem. All that raw data, how do we make sense of it all? Well, we bring it into our platform. We normalize all that raw data. We ingest it. We normalize it. We timestamp it. We add geo-IP information, like where is the data coming from? Then we enrich all that data. It runs through all of our AI, all of our machine learning algorithms, everything in there. And then what happens now is it comes into our SOC. So we block the bad stuff already. We weed out all the false positives. And when our SOC analysts get an alert, it is something they need to look at. Now, I love talking about our dashboard for our SOC analysts. So let's talk about that first. One, when we get an alert, we do not know who the customer is. So there is not a customer that takes precedence over another. A customer can have 10,000 seats or they can have 5. So it doesn't matter. Now, when the SOC analyst clicks on that alert, that's when they have all of the information about the customer. Where, first of all, that alert came from. Was it a virtual machine in the cloud? Was it a remote worker at home? Was it network traffic? Was it something with vulnerability information? Where did it come from? The other critical feature is what policies and procedures we have in place with that customer. So not only do who gets emailed and who gets called, but what response they want us to take. I talked about that before. Now, response means different things to different people. So a response could be just getting an alert. Hey, I responded. I sent you an alert. But that doesn't really help you. We want to take it to the next level. What is the response you want us to take? Do you want us to actually go in there and isolate a host? We can do that. Do you want us to go in there and block malicious IP traffic? We can do that. We can actually go as far as removing a browser plugin or fixing a registry setting on a Windows machine. Or we might make the recommendation, hey, we isolated this host, Mr. Customer. We recommend that you probably re-image the machine. Now, that's one thing we do not do at Eastern Tire. We do not re-image an endpoint for a customer, but we'll help them there and say, listen, this is probably the best thing that you need to do right now. Now, the other cool feature through this dashboard is our SOC analysts have all the information. The way we built this platform to the back-end systems and technologies, which I'm going to show you, we can actually see in real time network traffic, endpoint data from and in our dashboard. Now, our SOC analysts can actually check a box to isolate a host right in this dashboard. We don't have to dive down to that endpoint tool. Network, we can block malicious IP traffic right through this dashboard before having to dive to that network device. We can see the process of what's going on in an endpoint or log data right in this dashboard. Now, a quick little story for you about a few weeks ago, we have a customer in AWS. Now, we don't have an account, Rob, in the customer's environment, AWS. We're logging that data. So what we saw was a brute force attack on an account. Now, within a minute, because we can see the log data in our dashboard, we called the customer and said, Mr. Customer, here's an account that was compromised. Change the password. We're going to monitor and watch and see what's going on. Now, because we have that log and we can see it here before diving down to that log tool, we saw that the threat actor created an account in the environment but didn't log on yet. So in a 2.5 minute window, we called that customer back and said, Mr. Customer, these two accounts are not supposed to be there. Delete them. We're going to keep monitoring and making sure everything is okay. That's the power of our SOC analysts, responding and taking action for our customers. Now, I believe I do have a slide in here about some of these teams, but I want to also talk about our true team, our threat response unit team you see above the SOC. Now, what these guys and gals are doing is proactively threat hunting. So our SOC analysts are reacting to those alerts and taking action, but then we're also proactive with our true team. Now, what these guys and gals are doing is going through and watching threat actors, threat groups, discussion boards, social media. They're going through the dark web. They are finding out what's going on in cybersecurity today as a whole. And they're looking back at our customers' environments, doing threat sweeps and going through everything to make sure that they're safe. They're also building ML models and runbooks for our platform. So as new threats coming out, we're on top of it. We're going to reverse engineer what we're learning about every threat that we're seeing and everything that we're doing and every investigation and putting it back into our platform. So this XDR platform that you're looking at scales and grows and changes every single day as the threat landscape changes. This is how we are capable of doing that 15-minute mean time to contain. Now, real quick on the bottom, and I have a slide on this as well, and I'll show you quickly, is our Insight portal. Customers ask us all the time, hey, can I see what you guys are doing for me? Absolutely. We built an amazing portal for our customers that they can go in and see what the SOC is doing for them in real time, day in and day out, every single case, no matter what the service they have. So let's dive into our MDR service. So first, we have our MDR service. So we have that full spectrum visibility. We have network, we have endpoint, we have log, our managed vulnerability service. You see some of the different technologies we support on the endpoint front: CrowdStrike, SentinelOne, Microsoft, Carbon Black. The log components as the underlying technology, we support Sumo Logic, Microsoft, Tenable. as well for our a managed vulnerability service. We are in AWS, Google, Azure. We can see that stuff. We also have a cloud component, right? Cloud. We have a lot of customers now moving to the cloud, so we do support and look at cloud security posture management, workload protection, but endpoint log. We have a network sensor for the cloud as well, so we could see that network traffic in real time and take action for our customers. And then we also support Microsoft's full spectrum, stack. So endpoint, Defender for Office 365, so email security, Defender for identity, the Azure AD accounts, helping customers out with the AD accounts. If something happens, we can take action there. Defender for cloud app security. We can see as our customers are building cloud apps in the Azure environment, we want to make sure that they're secure. And we also support, like I mentioned before, Azure Sentinel as the logging front there as well in the Microsoft stack. These are the teams. I know I touched on them already. Our True Team, incredible, proactively threat hunting. Our SOC analysts, 24/7, 365. As long as our True Team as well, they're also 24/7, 365. But our SOC analysts, really elite threat hunters, hunting and stopping threats in our customers' environments. But you also get a customer success manager that's tied to your account with your entire life cycle with EastEntire, doing quarterly service reviews, running reports for you. They're your full contact and full communication as well with EastEntire and the SOC and our teams. You have a customer success manager, and these teams are all included in our service. There's no additional charge for these teams. So how are we stopping those 5 problems? Well, you see here, 24/7, 365. We're going to take action for you in real time. 15-minute mean time to contain. That's how we're taking care of that option for you. Then the alerts. We're taking all those alerts for you. We're going to manage them. We're going to take care of them. We have like I mentioned before, 160 SOC analysts. We have over 53 of our True Team members. And we are going to manage that technology. We're not just going to give it to you and say, here you go, take care of it. We're going to groom it and optimize it for you in real time. So I have this slide up here I wanted to show you real quick at a high level. Customers organization, where we fit in, as far as remote workers, in the cloud, at a data center or a DR site for your organization. We fit in all these different pieces. Now, we are a la carte, for example. So if you have a need for just endpoint, we can just offer endpoint for you. If you have a need just for log or network, we can provide those different services for you as well. Here's a picture of our Insight portal. I just wanted to show it to you to show you what it looks like. Again, you can come in here on day one and run some reports. You can see everything that SOC is doing for you in real time, total transparency. Thank you. Thank you for everything. Thank you for having me. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate. Reach out to myself or Ryan. We're here for you.
John, thank you so much for being on the call today. This was great. There's just so many different confusing terms out there when it comes to managed detection and response and cybersecurity. So I really appreciate clarifying all those terms.
Ryan, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So for more information, due to the short 30-minute time frame here, we will basically, if you have any questions or further questions about this, feel free to reach out to me, Ryan, or John. We'll include our contact information. If you'd like to book a free security discovery call, reach out to me at rcarter@netsharks.com, and we can reserve your spot to speak further with the EastEntire team. Thanks again, everybody, for joining.